Welcome back to Quest for Profits. Today, we will be exploring Micron Technology. Is Micron set for a Q4 rally?
And trust me, you're going to want to hear this because their stock performance this year. Let's just say it's been a roller coaster. We're talking a 220% surge early on, enough to make anyone feel like a Wall Street whiz, right? But then, bam, a 45% drop that probably left some folks feeling a little queasy. And just when you thought it was down for the count, it bounced back up like 30%. Crazy, huh? So naturally, a lot of you sent over this Market Beat article, why Micron could rally all the way through Q4, and we're here to break it all down. Is this wild ride a cause for concern or a golden opportunity to buy the dip?
Well, what's interesting about Micron is that they're not just riding some wave, they're actually at the forefront of a huge technological shift.
You're talking about AI, right? The article mentions Micron's strong Q4 earnings, mostly driven by that huge demand for anything AI. But why? Why is AI such a big deal for a company known for, well, memory chips?
It all boils down to this. AI, especially the kind of AI we're seeing with things like, ChatGPT, it needs a ton of data, like a mind-boggling amount. To learn, to adapt, to make decisions, and to handle all that data, you need serious processing power and storage. That's where Micron comes in, their specialty. High-performance memory and storage solutions, the kind of stuff that makes AI tick.
So there's sort of like the fuel behind the AI engine, if you will.
Precisely. And the best part is, this isn't some short-lived trend. Micron's CEO is already projecting record revenue for 2025. And they're putting their money where their mouth is, saying it'll be driven by significantly improved profitability, thanks to AI.
Okay, so they're all in on AI, and it sounds like they're not alone. This Market Beat piece mentions all sorts of analysts. KeyCorp, Cantor Fitzgerald, you name it all, giving Micron a big thumbs up. One even gave them a $150 price target. That's almost a 40% jump from where they are now.
It's true. Now, it's important to remember, those analyst predictions aren't guarantees. Things change, markets shift, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But still, to see that level of optimism from so many different sources, it definitely says something about Micron's potential.
So we've got a company perfectly positioned in a booming industry, exceeding expectations, and analysts are cheering them on. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? But, and there's always a but, right? There's this thing called the price-to-earnings ratio, or PE ratio for short, and Micron's is sitting at a pretty hefty 156. Now, to put that into perspective, their competitor, NVIDIA, is at 63. So for those of us who did a K-Ju in finance, break it down for us. What does this PE ratio actually tell us, and why should we care?
Imagine you're shopping, and you see two gadgets. They look the same, they do the same thing, but one's $63 and the other's $156. You want to know why, right? That's what the PE ratio is all about. It tells us how much investors are willing to pay for every dollar a company earns. So with Micron's high PE, it means investors are expecting big things. They're essentially saying, we're willing to pay a premium now because we believe Micron's earnings are going to skyrocket later.
So it's kind of like they're placing a bet on Micron's future success.
Exactly. And like any bet, it could pay off big time, but there's always a risk. If Micron doesn't meet those expectations, if the AI boom fizzles out, that high valuation could come crashing down.
High risk, high reward. Classic market dilemma.
You got it. But there's another layer to this whole thing, something we need to consider, and that's the overall market sentiment, the mood, if you will.
You mentioned something earlier about a risk-on mood in the tech sector. What does that even mean, and how does it play into all of this?
Think of it like this. Imagine investors as a group of friends deciding where to put their money. When they're feeling bold, optimistic, ready to take some chances, they're more likely to go for companies with massive growth potential, even if it comes with a little more risk. That's essentially what risk-on means. It's that feeling in the air, that sense of opportunity. And in this kind of market, well, tech companies like Micron, they tend to thrive.
So they're riding this wave of market excitement, but what goes up, right?
Right. And that brings us to another thing from the article, the whole geopolitical side of things. Specifically, that U.S.-China situation, always a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, that's got me a little nervous, not gonna lie. What kind of impact are we talking about here?
So Micron relies heavily on Taiwan for their manufacturing. It's like the core of their production.
Okay.
But here's the thing, Taiwan, kind of stuck in the middle of this U.S.-China back and forth. You know, any increase in tension there, any change to how things work now, and Micron's ability to actually make and ship stuff could be in trouble.
So it's like this vulnerability, something investors need to keep in the back of their minds.
Exactly. Supply chains getting messed up, export restrictions, heck, even the possibility of,
conflict.
Yeah, exactly. All that could throw a wrench into Micron's plans, even if everyone's gung-ho about AI.
not what I wanted to hear, but important to know. So we've got this amazing growth potential thanks to AI, but also some pretty big what-ifs hanging over everything. It's like Micron's trying to walk this tightrope between groundbreaking tech and global uncertainty. On one hand, they're banking on something with the potential to, like, change everything. But on the other hand, stuff totally outside their control could derail the whole thing. As someone just trying to understand all this, it seems like whether Micron succeeds or not depends on navigating this crazy mix of good and bad.
You absolutely nailed it. And that's exactly why it's so crucial to think about investing in a balanced way. Don't get blinded by the hype, no matter how exciting it seems.
Because there's no crystal ball for the stock market, unfortunately.
Nope. Not one that works, at least. And that's why, even with all the good signs around Micron, the AI growth, the positive forecast, that whole risk-on mood, you got to balance it out with the downsides. That high valuation, the geopolitical stuff, those aren't necessarily deal breakers, but you had to factor them in.
So where does this leave our listeners? They wrote in wanting to know if they should hop on the Micron train. What do we tell them? So where does this leave our listeners? They wrote in wanting to know if they should hop on the Micron train. What do we tell them?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Huh.
But honestly, there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to investing.
Right.
It really depends on your own situation, your goals, how much risk you're comfortable with, all of that.
So no easy answers today.
Nope. Sorry to say. But we can at least try to make sense of it all. So, about Micron. On the one hand, they're in the right place at the right time with this whole AI explosion happening.
True.
Financials look pretty good, and the market seems to believe in them. It's not nothing.
Definitely not.
But, and it's a big but, that valuation is steep.
Yeah.
And those geopolitical risks, they're not going anywhere.
It's like a high wire act. You know, they could pull it off, but one wrong step.
Exactly. My advice to anyone listening is this. Don't just take our word for it. Go read that Market Beat article, do some digging on your own.
Due diligence, right.
Absolutely. Look at Micron's financials yourself, see what different analysts are saying, but most importantly, figure out what makes sense for you. What are your goals and how much risk can you stomach?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Knowledge is power after all. And speaking of knowledge, this whole deep dive got me thinking, if Micron is betting everything on AI, and so far it seems like it's paying off, what does that say about AI itself? Like, is Micron's success a sign that AI is about to become even bigger than we realize? It feels like this is about way more than just one company, you know?
Wow, you just blew my mind.
Yep.
That is a great point. You're right. Micron's story could be a preview of how AI changes everything.
Right. It's like we're watching the future unfold in real time.
Totally. And that is a question I'll be pondering myself.
Me too. Well, folks, there you have it. We explored the ups and downs of Micron, tried to figure out where they're headed, and hopefully give you some things to think about. Just remember, the market is always going to be a wild ride. But do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to trust your gut. Until next time.